In the distant future, Earth finds itself among a vast coalition of planets that make up the Galactic Council, a body composed of alien species far more advanced than humanity. These species have forged a collective system of governance where every member planet is required to pay tribute, a form of resource sharing that sustains the Council's authority. For centuries, Earth had kept a low profile within the Council, contributing valuable resources like minerals, technology, and knowledge. But now, Earth's turn has come to offer tribute. And this time, the demand is far more personal, more invasive. The Galactic Council, having accumulated vast knowledge from hundreds of species, has identified humans as a critical and unique asset. The Council is always in search of ways to evolve its biological diversity, and humans, whose genetics have shown uncharted potential, have become the next coveted resource. The demand is clear. The Galactic Council demands access to human genetic material. They want DNA samples, genetic mapping, and even the creation of hybrid organisms based on human traits. For them, this is not just a request, but an order. To refuse would be to challenge the entire power structure of the Council. But it is not the demands themselves that make this moment so pivotal. It is the human diplomat tasked with negotiating Earth's future, Ambassador Daniel Sharp. Sharp is no stranger to high-stakes diplomacy. He has served for decades as Earth's representative, earning a reputation for being a tactician who values human dignity above all. He has navigated countless negotiations, fended off threats, and fought for his planet's autonomy. But this mission feels different. The weight of the request weighs heavily on him. Granting the Council what they ask could lead to unimaginable exploitation of humanity. Genetic material could be harvested indefinitely, Earth's future generations potentially subjected to scientific experimentation, and humanity reduced to a resource for the benefit of far-off alien species. It is a horrifying thought. But the alternative is equally daunting. To refuse the Council's demand would place Earth in direct defiance of the most powerful coalition of species in the galaxy. The threat of annihilation looms large. Sharp knows what is at stake. And yet, his mind remains focused on one thing: humanity's survival, not at the mercy of others, but by its own terms. When Sharp enters the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council for the critical meeting, the tension in the air is palpable. The representatives of countless alien species, each with their own agendas and priorities, are gathered in a cavernous chamber that radiates authority. The Council members are an intimidating sight, some humanoid, others wholly alien in appearance. Their collective presence is a testament to the overwhelming power they wield over the galaxy. Sharp knows that every word he speaks today will determine the fate of humanity. The Galactic Council wastes no time. Their spokesperson, a towering figure from a species called the Tsora, opens the meeting with a simple but blunt declaration. It is time for Earth to fulfill its tribute. We demand human genetic material. Failure to comply will result in consequences. Sharp's heart pounds, but his face remains composed. He has prepared for this moment for years, knowing that the pressure would be intense, the stakes high, and the temptation to comply ever present. But he has never wavered in his belief that humanity must retain its autonomy at all costs. The tribute you demand, Sharp begins, his voice steady, would compromise the very essence of what makes humanity unique. Our genetics are not commodities for your scientific experiments. Earth has offered resources, technology, and knowledge. We have fulfilled our obligations, but we will not sacrifice our people for your gain. A murmur runs through the Council. Some alien representatives shift uneasily, while others watch with cold, calculating eyes. The Tsora spokesperson looks at Sharp, clearly not accustomed to hearing such resistance. You misunderstand, the Tsora says with a deep voice. This is not a request, but a demand. Human genetic material is essential for our research. There is no choice but to comply. Sharp stands firm, his voice unwavering. We will not comply. Not at the cost of our future. You ask for something far beyond tribute. You ask for the very foundation of who we are. And we will not surrender it. The tension in the room thickens, and Sharp can feel the weight of every alien gaze upon him. He knows that his defiance could ignite a firestorm, an irreversible conflict that could spell the end of Earth as a free planet. But even as the Council's demands grow louder, Sharp does not budge. He has made his decision, and there is no turning back. The Council's leaders, creatures of immense power and intellect, exchange heated words in their native tongues. The Galactic Council has never faced defiance on this level. Other species, weaker and more compliant, would have folded under the pressure long ago. But Earth, under Sharp's leadership, refuses to submit. The atmosphere in the chamber is tense, but Sharp stands tall, resolute in his beliefs. Finally, the Tsora speaks again, this time more slowly, as though weighing every word carefully. Your defiance is noted, human. You understand the consequences of refusing us, do you not? Sharp's eyes meet the alien's cold gaze. I understand perfectly, he replies, his voice sharp and defiant. And I will accept them. The Council falls silent. No one has dared challenge the Council's demands so openly before. Some species are still processing what they've just heard, while others are calculating the potential repercussions. The Council has always operated on the assumption that fear would force compliance, that any defiance could be crushed with ease. But Sharp's declaration sends a different message: humanity will not be cowed. For a moment, Sharp feels a wave of relief wash over him. He knows he has done what is necessary to protect Earth's future, to preserve the integrity of the human spirit. Yet, that feeling is fleeting. The weight of the Council's response is still to come, and he understands that his decision will set in motion events that could change the course of history for better or worse. Sharp, aware of the shifting dynamics in the room, takes a deep breath and adds, I will not allow Earth to be reduced to a mere tool for your scientific purposes. Humanity will stand by its own choices, whatever the cost. A ripple of unrest spreads among the Council members. Some whisper among themselves, others glare at Sharp with barely concealed contempt. There is a palpable shift in the atmosphere. The Tsora's face tightens, a look of fury crossing its features. Then you are prepared to face the consequences, it says, its voice now laced with cold anger. Your defiance will not go unpunished. Sharp does not flinch. His decision has been made. The Council can bring whatever consequences they deem fit, but humanity's dignity and autonomy will not be sacrificed. The next moments unfold in tense silence, as the full weight of Sharp's refusal settles over the Council. The next chapter in this interstellar drama will determine whether humanity is to be crushed under the weight of the Council's power, or whether it will carve a new path forward, one where its defiance is not just respected, but feared. But in the quiet, Sharp knows something else. The Council has underestimated humanity. If there is one thing history has taught, it is that humanity is not so easily defeated. The chamber falls into an uncomfortable silence, a heavy pause that stretches too long, yet feels necessary. Ambassador Sharp stands at the center, unyielding, unwavering. His declaration echoes in the minds of the Council representatives, each of them processing the audacity of his words. The silence isn't the result of confusion, far from it. It is a moment of collective realization that this human, this single diplomat, is not intimidated. The Galactic Council is used to domination through power, through coercion. But this human has just declared something far more dangerous than defiance. He has dared to reject their absolute control. The Tsora, the spokesperson for the Council, speaks first. Its voice, usually calm and commanding, now carries a tremor of disbelief. You choose death, then? Is that your final word, human? Your life is worth so little to you? It tries to maintain its authority, but there is a noticeable shift in tone, a flicker of uncertainty. The idea of a species rejecting a demand so openly is foreign to them, a challenge they are ill-equipped to handle. Sharp's expression remains impassive, his voice firm as he responds. I choose dignity. I choose the future of my people. If you believe that you can force humanity to surrender what defines us, then I'm prepared to demonstrate that you are gravely mistaken. His words strike hard against the heavy air, each syllable a calculated blow, not to the Council's authority, but to their arrogance. The Council representatives begin to shift in their seats, the unease spreading like a ripple through the room. The Tsora's nostrils flare, and its tentacled appendages twitch. It gestures toward the nearest delegate, a smaller, more insected species known as the Varix. They exchange words, but the conversation is brief, and when the Tsora turns back to Sharp, it is clear that the stakes have been raised. Your people, Ambassador Sharp, have no concept of the power you are challenging. Do you truly think that your resistance will have any meaningful impact on the Galactic Council? You are a single planet. Your species is insignificant compared to the civilizations that have flourished under our guidance. Sharp's eyes narrow. I don't care about your guidance. You are not my rulers, and Earth will not kneel to your demands. We've fought wars on our own soil, we've stood against impossible odds, and we've survived when others would have crumbled. We are not the insignificant species you seem to think we are. There's a ripple of disbelief from several of the Council's members, some of whom exchange looks, their own self-assuredness starting to waver. They've underestimated humanity, and the recognition of this mistake begins to simmer beneath the surface. The Council has always considered humans to be a young, relatively primitive species in comparison to the ancient beings around them. But this human, Sharp, is challenging everything they thought they knew about Earth. It is not just the refusal to comply that stuns them, it is the underlying conviction, the audacity to believe in their own worth. One of the more diminutive delegates, a representative of the Ixari, a race known for their tactical precision and ruthless efficiency, speaks up. What do you hope to achieve, Sharp? Are you hoping to spark a revolution? The Council will crush any such attempt. It's inevitable. We have the power to wipe your planet from existence. Sharp smiles, but it's not a smile of submission. Do you know what will happen if you kill me? He asks, his voice growing cold, cutting through the tension in the room like a blade. If you kill me, you will make me a martyr. You will ignite a fire in humanity that you can't control. Earth may be just one planet now, but we are capable of far more than you realize. You may think you can destroy us, but what you don't understand is that we are not so easily broken. The Council is stunned into silence once again. The sheer audacity of his words, the quiet confidence that radiates from him, leaves them momentarily paralyzed. They expected a diplomatic negotiation, a plea, perhaps even an offer of some compromise. But Sharp has chosen a path they cannot predict, one that makes them question whether the human spirit is a force they can manipulate, or if it is something far more dangerous than they imagined. The Tsora speaks again, this time with a touch of mockery. So, you believe that humanity can become a threat to the Galactic Council? You believe that the death of one man can change the course of this galaxy? There's a dark chuckle from a few of the other delegates. To them, the idea is laughable. No individual, certainly not a human, could ever pose a real threat to their collective might. Sharp's response is slow but deliberate. I believe that humans are not defined by their physical strength alone. We do not need to be the strongest species to make an impact. It is our will that makes us formidable. It is our ability to rise against impossible odds that has allowed us to survive in the first place. And it is that same spirit that you fear. A chill settles over the room. The Council members begin to murmur amongst themselves. Some are uncertain, others are growing agitated. The concept of humanity as a real threat to their dominance is difficult for them to process. It is true that Earth is not as technologically advanced as many of the species in the Council, but humanity's unpredictable nature, their drive, and their relentless pursuit of survival are beginning to make the aliens question whether they have underestimated their adversaries. The Tsora seems to falter for a moment, then gestures for the room to settle. The shifting conversations quiet down, and it speaks again, more controlled, though its tone carries a hint of suspicion. You misunderstand the situation, Sharp. This is not about your species' strength or will. This is a matter of power. Power that the Galactic Council holds over all who exist within its domain. Power that is absolute. Sharp's expression hardens. Perhaps. But power is only as strong as the fear it instills. And when that fear is no longer enough, power means nothing. You may have the might to destroy us, but you will never have the power to control us. That is something you can never take from humanity. The room is now fully charged with tension. The Council is no longer dealing with an ordinary diplomat. They are facing a human who has chosen to resist with everything he has, even if it means sacrificing his own life. The Council's certainty is beginning to crack, revealing a vulnerability they had not anticipated. The Tsora hesitates before responding, its posture stiff and its eyes narrowing. You will regret this choice, Sharp. Your species will never know peace again. Sharp meets the alien's gaze, his voice resolute. We've known war before. We've known oppression before. We will survive. And in time, we will show you that humanity is not a species to be trifled with. And just like that, the conversation shifts. The Council realizes that their usual methods of intimidation and control will not work here. The challenge has been made. The test of wills has begun. Sharp's words hang in the air, heavy with promise. The Galactic Council may have the power, but humanity has something far more dangerous: defiance. The tension in the room thickens as Sharp's words continue to reverberate through the chamber. The Galactic Council, for the first time in centuries, finds itself at an impasse. Never before has a single species, let alone a lone human diplomat, dared to reject the authority of the Council with such open defiance. The alien delegates, who had once held the power to sway planets with a mere word, now find themselves in uncharted territory. The humiliation of their demands being turned away without hesitation stings more deeply than any force could. For the Council's leadership, the decision now lies in their hands. Do they destroy this human, wipe Earth from existence for the sake of maintaining their dominance? Or do they try something unprecedented, compromise? To an outsider, it may seem like a simple choice, but for the Council, it's not. A direct act of aggression against humanity could spark a war unlike any they've ever known. Earth's unyielding spirit, embodied in Sharp's bold stance, could rally countless factions, not just from within their own ranks, but from other alien races who have long suffered under the Council's oppressive rule. The ripple effects of killing Sharp, of attacking Earth for its defiance, could have consequences far beyond what the Council is willing to risk. The Tsora, whose towering form has dominated the proceedings thus far, exchanges glances with the other Council members. A quiet conversation ensues, but it is clear that they are deliberating the unthinkable. For a moment, the idea of mercy is floated. Perhaps they could find a way to bend Earth to their will without resorting to open conflict. After all, the Council is a body built on trade, cooperation, and mutual benefit. An interstellar war would be disastrous for everyone involved, including the Council itself. But can they afford to lose face, to appear weak in front of the very species they have held in contempt? Sharp watches the Council with a sense of grim satisfaction. His gamble is paying off. He knew that by making such an uncompromising stand, he could expose the Council's true vulnerability. They are not invincible. They rely on fear and intimidation to maintain control, and that is a weapon that only works when the other side believes they have no choice but to obey. But Sharp's defiance has put them in a position where they must choose: do they destroy humanity, or do they acknowledge that the human spirit cannot be so easily crushed? The silence is broken by a voice from the Ixari delegation, a race known for its sharp intellect and cold pragmatism. Perhaps it is time to consider a different approach, the Ixari representative suggests, his antennae twitching in thought. This human's challenge has not only shown us that Earth may not be as weak as we once thought, but it also reveals a certain resilience. If humanity is willing to risk annihilation over their pride, we may want to tread carefully. Destroying them could spark more unrest than we anticipate. The Tsora looks over at the Ixari, the smallest of the Council members, but one who has often been regarded as a voice of reason. The two exchange a long, silent moment before the Tsora speaks again, its tone more measured, though still laced with authority. Your counsel is noted. But we cannot allow this defiance to go unpunished. If we show weakness here, we may never regain control over this sector. And yet, the Ixari presses, if we destroy them now, we risk something far worse: rebellion. The humans are a stubborn species, and this Sharp is no mere diplomat. He understands what it means to fight for survival. What happens when the rest of Earth's population takes up this banner of defiance? What happens when other species, who have suffered under our rule, take this as a sign that the Council is no longer invulnerable? The Tsora's silence speaks volumes. The weight of the decision hangs heavily in the air. The other Council members, though more numerous, seem hesitant, murmuring amongst themselves. There's a growing sense that the Council may have overplayed its hand, that the stakes have escalated beyond their control. Sharp feels the tension shift. The unease in the room is palpable now, and it only emboldens him. He's done more than simply deny their request. He's opened a door to something they can't shut. The Council's power, once a nearly uncontested force in the galaxy, is now under scrutiny. If humanity can survive this test of will, if Earth can stand resolute in the face of such overwhelming pressure, then perhaps there is a future where humanity no longer has to bow to the whims of the Council. As Sharp stands in the center of the chamber, the Council's murmurs grow louder, their voices rising in disagreement and indecision. But in this moment of chaos, there is a quiet realization: they cannot destroy humanity without losing far more than they would gain. They've miscalculated. And now, the question shifts from whether to crush Earth to whether they can negotiate a path forward, one that will allow them to save face while securing their interests without destroying the very thing they sought to control. The Tsora raises a hand, signaling for quiet. The room falls into a tense hush as the alien leader considers the options. For the first time, Sharp sees a crack in the Council's facade. It's a fleeting moment, but it's there. The Tsora turns to face Sharp, its eyes narrowing in a rare moment of introspection. "We will not kill you, Ambassador Sharp," the Tsora announces, its voice carrying across the room. "But understand this, humanity will not go unscathed. Your planet will still pay tribute, though not in the form of genetic material. There will be consequences for your defiance. You will leave this Council no longer as equals, but as a subjugated species. Your future will be shaped by your unwillingness to comply." The words sting, but Sharp refuses to let them show. He stands tall, unbroken, the weight of his choice now fully realized. He has not won, at least, not in the conventional sense. The Council may have chosen to spare humanity, but they have also made it clear that Earth's place in the galaxy has fundamentally shifted. It is no longer an equal member, but a subjugated one. Yet, even in this moment of compromise, Sharp knows that the Council's decision to spare Earth, to make a concession at all, is a victory of sorts. The Council, for all its power, has been forced to reckon with humanity's unyielding resolve. And for the first time, the galaxy sees humanity not as a vulnerable species to be exploited, but as a force to be reckoned with. The ripple effects of Sharp's defiance will spread far beyond this Council room, and while Earth's place in the universe has been altered, it has also taken its first step towards something greater, a future where humanity is no longer a pawn in galactic politics, but a player in its own right. The Council has been forced to rethink their assumptions, and in the coming years, this moment will become a turning point. A new chapter in galactic history will be written, one where humanity is no longer afraid to stand alone, to face the unknown, and to fight for its dignity. The cost of Sharp's defiance will be great, but so too will be the strength it fosters in the heart of Earth's people. The story of the human spirit is just beginning. The room, still thick with tension, seems to hold its breath as the Council begins to process their decision. Sharp stands unmoving, the weight of the Council's words pressing down on him. He knows this is far from a victory, but it's something else. The human race, once regarded as a weak and insignificant player in the galactic hierarchy, has just forced the most powerful coalition of species to back down. The Council may have chosen not to destroy Earth, but they've sent a clear message: humanity is no longer a pushover. Their resistance has been heard, and its consequences will be far-reaching. The Tsora, having made the decree, seems to take a moment of quiet satisfaction in their perceived victory. But beneath the surface, there's a crack in their confidence. They may have avoided a full-scale war with humanity, but this moment will not be easily forgotten. Sharp's decision to choose defiance over submission has altered the balance of power in the galaxy. The other Council members, while outwardly silent, are no less shaken. Some begin to reconsider their previous positions, the ease with which they had once viewed humanity's role in the universe now forever tainted by the memory of one man's unshakable resolve. The Ixari representative, still contemplative, speaks up once more. "Perhaps we should consider a more long-term strategy," he suggests, his tone cooler than before. "If humanity's resistance can rally others, if their spirit can spread like wildfire, then what we have here is not just a rebellion of one species. It could become a full-scale insurrection against the Council. Earth may be a single planet, but it is one that is fiercely united, more so than we have ever seen before." The words hang heavy in the air, and for the first time, the Council members feel the full weight of the risk they've taken. A single human's act of defiance has done something they thought impossible. It has united the disparate factions within humanity, sparked a fire that they can no longer control. Earth may be small, but it is no longer the weak, isolated planet they once considered an easy target. The unity that Sharp's actions have ignited will be difficult to extinguish. Sharp's mind races, but he remains outwardly calm. He knows that the Council is trying to buy time, attempting to salvage something from this situation, but he won't let them manipulate the narrative. The Council may have spared Earth this time, but it's clear that their grip on humanity is slipping. They may not have killed him, but in doing so, they've shown a vulnerability that no amount of power can erase. Earth's future is no longer theirs to dictate. The Council delegates begin to murmur among themselves once more, their once unified front now fractured by doubt and indecision. The alien races, each with their own agendas, are starting to see humanity in a new light. Sharp knows that he has to act quickly, before the Council finds a way to reassert its control. But he also knows that this is not the time for rash action. The war of words is not yet over, and every word spoken here could set the course for the galaxy's future. In the midst of the discussions, the Varix delegate, a creature of cold calculation, breaks through the chatter. "We must consider the ramifications of a human uprising," he states bluntly. "If humanity has the will to defy us, there may be other factions who will align with them. The galaxy is already fractured in ways the Council cannot afford to ignore. A rebellion could spread beyond Earth and become a rallying cry for those who have long chafed under our rule." The Council falls silent at this notion, the full scope of the problem finally sinking in. A rebellion from humanity, even one that starts small, could have catastrophic consequences. There are races who have long suffered under the Council's leadership, alien species who see their opportunity to rise up in the wake of humanity's defiance. The Ixari and Varix, while generally aligned with the Council, are not above shifting allegiances if it means furthering their own agendas. The unity that Sharp has unknowingly fostered among humanity could now become the catalyst for an interstellar rebellion that the Council may not be able to contain. Sharp's gamble has paid off. His sacrifice, the declaration of his willingness to die rather than bow to their demands, has done something that no military force, no political maneuver, could have achieved. He has shaken the very foundations of the Council's power, forcing them to confront their own limitations. The Council, so used to demanding tribute without resistance, has been faced with the stark reality that humanity is not so easily controlled. The Tsor's expression is unreadable, but the tension in its eyes is evident. It knows that the path forward is unclear. If the Council moves too aggressively, they risk sparking a larger conflict, one that could spiral out of control. But if they back down too much, they risk losing the authority they've held for millennia. The fragile peace they've maintained across the galaxy could shatter, and with it, the very structure that has allowed them to dominate for so long. Sharp, sensing the shift, takes a step forward. He knows that the Council is teetering on the edge, uncertain of how to proceed. He knows that the future of humanity, and potentially the entire galaxy, hangs in the balance. But he also understands something fundamental. The Council can no longer ignore humanity's presence in the galaxy. Earth may be small, but its defiance has sent shockwaves through the core of galactic politics. Sharp has forced the Council to confront the very thing they feared most: humanity's capacity for unity, for survival, and for resistance. He looks around the room, making eye contact with the delegates. The message is clear, and it's one that will resonate long after the Council's decision is made. Humanity will no longer be a pawn in your games, Sharp says, his voice steady but filled with resolve. We will not be forced into submission, nor will we be driven into silence. You may have the power to control us in the short term, but you will never break our spirit. And that is something you cannot take away. The Council, for the first time, seems uncertain. The old strategies, the old ways of dealing with weaker species, no longer work on Earth. Sharp's bold declaration, his willingness to die for the cause, has shifted the dynamics irrevocably. Earth is no longer just another planet to be subdued. It is a force to be reckoned with. And with that, the future of humanity is no longer in the hands of the Galactic Council. The ripple effects of Sharp's defiance will continue to echo across the galaxy. Whether the Council acknowledges it or not, humanity has become something more than just a footnote in the grand scheme of galactic politics. It is a force that will shape the future of the universe. And it all began with one man's refusal to submit. The story of humanity's rise from the ashes of submission has just begun.